When it comes to survival, understanding the rule of 3S and 7S is essential knowledge that could make all the difference in a life or death situation. These guidelines help prioritize your actions and focus on what truly matters in emergencies. Let's break it down. The rule of 3S reminds us that humans can generally survive 3 minutes without air, 3 hours exposed to extreme elements, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks with. Recognizing these time frames means you can think more clearly under pressure and avoid critical mistakes. Building on this is the rule of 7S, which emphasizes situational awareness and decision-making. It suggests that survival success can increase by putting safety first, maintaining a positive mindset, and carefully analyzing environmental and logistical factors every 7 seconds. Together, these principles provide a structured approach to survival situations, ensuring you remain focused on what matters most in the moment. Understanding these rules isn't just theoretical. It's about preparation, staying composed, and utilizing the resources around you to endure and eventually thrive in even the toughest scenarios. Whether you're in the wilderness, facing a natural disaster, or dealing with unexpected challenges, these rules serve as vital tools for survival. The rule of 3s. 1. 3 minutes without air. The survival rule of 3S puts one truth into sharp focus. You can only survive 3 minutes without air. Stop breathing, and your body begins to shut down almost immediately. The clock starts ticking, and each second lost brings you closer to permanent damage or death. Within the first minute, your oxygen supply dwindles. Your brain is the first to panic, sending your heart into overdrive to keep blood circulating. Confusion sets in, and basic decision-making starts to falter. If you're underwater, choked by smoke, or engulfed in fear, that panic only worsens things. Gasping for air when there's none makes matters worse, overwhelming both lungs and mind. At the 2-minute mark, oxygen deprivation has reached critical levels in the body. Your muscles weaken, vision blurs, and if you're holding your breath, pressure builds in your chest to a point of near agony. The brain, which consumes an enormous amount of oxygen, begins to misfire. You may experience total disorientation, seizures, or loss of motor control. This is not an ideal place to be. Rescuing yourself becomes almost impossible. By the 3-minute mark, unconsciousness overtakes you. That precious supply of oxygen your brain relies on is now completely cut off. Cells begin to die rapidly, depriving the brain of the ability to recover. Total shutdown is imminent, and without immediate intervention, whether it's CPR or mechanical ventilation, death is certain. Even if revived, the risk of permanent brain damage is high. Preventing this means controlling your breathing and staying calm under extreme pressure. Techniques like box breathing, where you inhale, hold, exhale, and hold for an equal number of seconds, can offer a lifeline. Diaphragmatic breathing, breathing deeply from your belly, can also help steady your nerves and keep oxygen flowing. Whatever the situation, preserving clarity and measured breathing is your best chance of survival when those critical 3 minutes begin. There's no room for indecision or mistakes when air runs out. Understand the rule, recognize the risks, and be prepared to act fast. When life hangs by the thread of a single breath, preparation and composure can be the difference between survival and tragedy. 2. 3 hours without shelter in harsh conditions. Shelter is a top priority in survival because extreme environments can kill within hours. The survival rule of 3S teaches that humans typically cannot survive for more than 3 hours without adequate shelter in severe weather conditions. Whether it's blistering heat, freezing cold, or relentless rain, exposure to the elements will quickly deplete your body's strength and put you at risk of deadly conditions like hypothermia, hyperthermia, or dehydration. Shelter is not a luxury in such situations. It is essential for survival. Temperature becomes your enemy. Exposure to extreme temperatures is unforgiving. When it's freezing, hypothermia can set in rapidly, and your body loses heat faster than it can generate it. Early signs such as shivering escalate to confusion, slowed heart rate, and eventually death if left unaddressed. On the other hand, scorching heat leads to dehydration and heat stroke as your body overheats and struggles to compensate. Staying exposed for even a few hours can push you beyond the point of survival. Shelter minimizes your exposure to dangerous conditions by insulating you from cold or providing shade against the sun. Preparedness dictates survival. Timing is critical. You have roughly 3 hours to secure or build a shelter before harsh conditions overwhelm your body. Without action, injuries caused by the elements will reduce your physical and mental ability to respond effectively. Simple solutions like a tarp tied to trees or a snow cave can buy you valuable time, so acting early is key. Waiting until you are weak or disoriented is a death sentence. Terrain and location matter. Where you choose to build your shelter is just as important as having one at all. Building on low ground like valleys is a mistake. Water collects there, which can lead to flooding, damp shelter, and quicker cooling of your body. Similarly, slopes where debris or snow might fall should be avoided. These areas are dangerous. Find flat, dry terrain that gives stability and prevents external forces from worsening your shelter's condition. A bad location can be just as deadly as no shelter at all. Survival means staying ahead of the risk curve. Know your environment, act fast, and prioritize creating a functional shelter. Chances are your life will depend on it within those critical 3 hours. 3 days. 3 days without water. Water is not optional. Your body demands it, and without it, death is imminent. The survival rule of 3S makes this clear, as you can only survive 3 days without water before your body starts shutting down completely. Dehydration is brutal and unforgiving. Within hours of water deprivation, your cognitive functions falter and your body becomes progressively weaker. By 12 hours, confusion arises, making logical decision-making almost impossible. This is compounded as organ damage occurs, leading to irreversible consequences. You don't get a second chance if hydration doesn't become a priority. Dehydration progresses rapidly, so you must act fast. Finding and safeguarding a water source is non-negotiable in any survival situation. Clean water might not always be readily available, so understanding purification strategies is critical. Boiling water is the most straightforward and effective method to kill pathogens. If boiling isn't an option, purification tablets are lightweight, portable, and simple to use. Learn to differentiate between drinkable sources like natural springs and potentially harmful ones such as stagnant water. Never assume any water source is safe. Purify every drop you consume. Once you've secured water, storage and rationing become the next crucial step. Always carry reliable containers, ideally ones with sealed lids to prevent contamination. Ration your water intake strategically based on activity level and environmental conditions. Extreme heat or physical exertion increases dehydration risk, so adjust accordingly, but never waste water. Small, consistent sips can stretch your supply longer and ensure your body absorbs it effectively. Remember, guzzling down water all at once is wasteful and provides no real hydration advantage in survival terms. The bottom line, failing to secure and conserve water in the first 72 hours will kill you, period. There are no exceptions to this rule. Your body cannot function without it. Ignoring these strategies or delaying action will result in rapid deterioration. Be proactive, stay vigilant, and treat water as the lifeline it genuinely is. Survival hinges on hydration, and this isn't a lesson you can afford to learn too late. 4. 3 weeks without food. Food is essential, but it's not your immediate priority in a survival situation. That's not to say hunger isn't a problem. 3 weeks without food will wreck your body and mind, but it won't kill you outright until that timeline runs out. Understanding what happens to your body, how to manage the effects, and what to eat to stretch those 3 weeks is the key to staying functional. The body's survival phases. When food runs out, your body has a system for survival, but that system is brutal. First comes ketosis, where your body burns stored fat to keep going. This might sound great if you're thinking about dieting, but that's not its purpose here. Survival ketosis saps your energy, slows your movements, and fogs your mind. You'll feel lethargic, which makes completing necessary survival tasks harder and much more dangerous. If no food is reintroduced, you'll hit starvation mode. At this point, your body has burned through fat and starts breaking down muscle tissue for energy. This is where things get deadly. Without muscle mass, you'll lose strength, coordination, and eventually organ function. Organ failure from prolonged starvation is what truly ends the clock on 3 weeks without food. Once that sets in, you're done. Food strategies for survival. Food in survival isn't about pleasure, it's about fuel. If you're traveling or working to secure shelter, fire, or water, you'll need energy. High-energy, lightweight foods like nuts, dried meats, seeds, or high-calorie protein bars will give you the biggest return without adding extra weight to your pack. Think survival rations, not gourmet meals. Variety doesn't matter if it keeps you alive. However, don't overlook the mental importance of comfort foods. A small chocolate bar or a packet of coffee can give a morale boost that feels like new life when spirits are incredibly low. This doesn't mean you switch focus to indulgence, but a single comforting item, when rationed over days or weeks, can stabilize your will to keep going. Hunger breaks people's will. Morale can hold it together. More importantly, focus on functionality over everything. You're not eating to feel full. In extreme survival, feeling full doesn't matter at all. You're eating to push one more day forward and find a way out of the crisis. Fuel every move with just enough food to maintain mobility and awareness. Time, when food is limited, is not your friend. The sooner you make a plan to find or ration food sources, the better your odds of lasting those 3 critical weeks. No plan? You'll burn up your reserves and fall apart way before starvation becomes the cause of death. The rule of sevens. 1. 7 seconds to react. The 7 seconds to react concept underlines how crucial an immediate response is during a life-threatening situation. You have 7 seconds to recognize the danger, assess your options, and act intentionally. Waste those seconds, and the chance for survival significantly diminishes. This isn't a theoretical exercise, it's a reality that survivalists, hikers, and anyone confronted with nature's unyielding dangers must understand. Reacting within those first 7 seconds can determine the difference between minor inconvenience and deadly consequence. Imagine a falling tree crashing down from above. If you don't immediately recognize the danger and move out of the way, you're at higher risk of being crushed. A hesitation, even for a few moments, complicates survival drastically. These 7 seconds aren't a luxury, they're necessity. Similarly, an encounter with a wild animal, like a bear or a wild boar, leaves no room for delay. Within 7 seconds, you must evaluate the situation, fight or flight. Making the wrong call here or wasting time fumbling between choices usually ends badly. That window of time is what separates the living from the dead. It pays to trust your instincts, act decisively, and refine these survival reactions through preparation and practice. The key to using your 7 seconds effectively is situational awareness. Always stay attuned to your environment. Are there unusual sounds? Movement in the corner of your vision? A sudden change in terrain? Your body often picks up cues faster than your conscious mind can process them. So train yourself to recognize and act on those gut feelings. Practicing simulated survival scenarios can greatly improve this reaction process, making your instincts sharper under pressure. Planning ahead also plays a vital role. When you know the terrain, have an emergency escape route, and practice emergency drills, you're giving yourself a head start within those 7 seconds. Survival is 1 part instinct, 2 parts preparation. If you've rehearsed the right actions beforehand, you're far less likely to freeze in those precious moments. Knowing what to do before you need to react shifts your focus from hesitation to execution, and that focus is everything. Remember, survival isn't just about grit. It's about precision, speed, and efficiency when seconds count. Time is unforgiving in emergencies, and the 7 seconds you have after danger manifests can't be wasted. Educate yourself, stay aware, and be ready to react at any given moment. Your life may depend on it. 2. 7 hours without security. Security is vital within the first 7 hours of a survival situation. Without it, you leave yourself and your group exposed to numerous threats. Predators, whether animals or desperate humans, don't wait for you to get your act together. They strike when defenses are down, often taking advantage of fatigue or disorganization. After 7 hours of no plan for security, an unguarded camp or a fatigued group is practically an open invitation for danger. This is a situation no one can afford to risk, especially in high-pressure environments where resources are scarce and hostility is around every corner. Fatigue plays a major role in lowering your group's alertness, making you a weak target. Lack of sleep and overexertion eat away at your ability to think and react. A group that's running on adrenaline alone will hit a wall, and once that happens, critical mistakes become inevitable. Simple errors like assuming safety when there's none or ignoring warning signs can have deadly consequences. Security isn't something that can be postponed. It must be a priority from the start, and it requires thought, action, and discipline. To mitigate risks, establishing a secure perimeter is the first step. This means identifying your surroundings and creating a buffer zone. Natural barriers like dense vegetation or uneven terrain can act as partial defenses, but don't rely on them entirely. Makeshift alarms, like stringing up noise-making objects or setting up tripwires, can serve as early warning systems. Think practically and immediately assess resources, use tools at hand, and secure the boundary around your location. Rotating tasks among group members is a must to ensure that no one burns out. If everyone's too tired to stay alert, it doesn't matter how strong your defenses appear, you're vulnerable. Assign roles. One person scouts, another creates defenses, and someone else rests. Shifts for guard duty must be fair and consistent to maintain energy levels across the group. Built-in rest periods are just as important as the security plan itself, because an exhausted person watching the perimeter is nearly as useless as having no security at all. Finally, stay vigilant. Even when things seem calm, don't drop your guard. Prolonged stretches of nothing happening can lead to a false sense of security. That's when you're most likely to slip up. A well-organized group that monitors its environment consistently and maintains readiness will have a far better chance of keeping threats at bay. Security is not negotiable, it's survival. 3. In 7 days without hygiene. Maintaining personal hygiene isn't about luxury, it's about survival. After 7 days without proper hygiene, the human body becomes a breeding ground for bacteria, fungi, and other harmful pathogens. These aren't just minor annoyances or cosmetic issues. They're potential killers in a survival scenario. Skin infections, dental issues, and gastrointestinal diseases can escalate at an alarming rate, crippling your ability to focus or function effectively. Neglecting hygiene leads to wounds festering, illnesses worsening, and ultimately a body that's too weak to fight or flee. Basic hygiene isn't complicated, but it must be prioritized. Washing your hands can seem trivial, but it's one of the simplest ways to prevent germs from spreading. Brushing your teeth isn't just for fresh breath, it's essential to avoid painful infections and tooth decay, both of which can become debilitating in a survival situation. Keeping your living area clean reduces the risks of pest infestations and contamination, safeguarding you from additional hazards like food poisoning or bites from disease-carrying insects. What happens when you ignore hygiene? Small cuts become infected, possibly leading to sepsis. A dirty mouth can lead to abscessed teeth or gum disease, preventing you from eating properly when you need your strength the most. Unwashed bodies develop fungal infections, causing discomfort or mobility issues. These conditions might seem manageable at first, but in a survival context, they can quickly spiral into life-threatening situations. It's not just about personal suffering. Compromised health means compromised survival. The solution is straightforward. Use whatever resources you have, stream water, makeshift brushes, or even your hands, to uphold the basics of cleanliness. Devote time daily to address hygiene because the consequences of neglect don't wait for convenience. Filthy living spaces or equipment aren't just unpleasant, they're ticking time bombs. Every bit of grime you remove is another layer of protection against disease. Hygiene might not seem like a priority when you're battling for food or shelter, but after 7 days, it quickly becomes clear who's prepared and who's not. Survival isn't just about dramatic heroics. It's about diligence in the small, overlooked parts of life, like keeping your body and surroundings clean. Don't cut corners on hygiene. It's a deadly gamble you can't afford to take. Cleanliness is survival, period. Or 7 weeks without long-term planning. 7 weeks without long-term planning isn't just reckless, it's a recipe for disaster. Survival isn't just about finding food or water. It's about creating a framework to keep yourself functional and alive. Without a clear strategy, chaos sets in fast. Here's why planning matters, and what the lack of it leads to. Resource gathering and rationing. Long-term planning ensures that resources are collected, preserved, and used efficiently. Without it, supplies will disappear faster than you expect. Hunt impulsively, and you'll deplete the available game and plants in your area. Fail to ration, and food could run out in days, instead of lasting for weeks. Proper planning prevents this wastage. It makes you assess what's available, figure out how long it can last, and calculate how much you can consume per day. Without that structure, you're likely to face starvation long before 7 weeks. Waste management. Trash, food scraps, and human waste don't just disappear. If you don't have a plan to manage waste, your living environment becomes a breeding ground for disease. Bacteria thrives in unhygienic conditions, and soon enough, minor illnesses can spiral into life-threatening infections. Long-term planning accounts for waste areas, composting options, or burning trash safely. Failure to consider this invites sickness and weakens your ability to survive. Maintaining morale. Morale isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for surviving extended periods. Without a plan to keep things feeling purposeful, motivation plummets. Entertainment or routines, even small ones, can anchor the mind and create a sense of normalcy. Without that structure, days blur together, and you risk mental collapse. Depression, paranoia, or apathy can creep in without warning, and once your will to survive fades, your odds of making it plummet. Adapting to circumstances. Survival is unpredictable. Predators wander, resources dry up, or weather turns deadly, and your current strategy may stop working. Long-term planning isn't set in stone. It's adaptable. If you stop planning or fail to adjust when circumstances change, you'll fall behind and become vulnerable. That's how bad situations turn lethal. Without a plan, every twist or turn in your environment becomes a setback instead of a manageable challenge. Survival without long-term planning is a gamble you're likely to lose. 7 weeks may sound like enough time to figure things out, but without a strategy in place from the start, you'll crumble long before then. Additional survival priorities. Survival is about more than just food and water. The survival rule of 3S and 7S highlights how quickly certain needs become critical. You can only survive 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. Expanding this idea, we look at 7 hours for safety and 7 days for psychological stability. Below, we'll explore 2 key areas to focus on to ensure you stay alive and functional. 1. Breathing. And panic control. The first thing that will kill you is panic. When fear takes over, your body betrays you. Panic causes rapid, shallow breathing, which throws your body into chaos. Your heart races, your blood pressure skyrockets, and your mind can't think straight. Decisions made in this state are rarely the right ones. If you lose control of your breath, you lose control of yourself. That's why managing your breathing is critical to survival. Start with the basics, like box breathing. It's simple but effective. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Hold the breath for 4, exhale slowly through your mouth for another count of 4, and hold again for 4. Repeat this cycle until you feel your pulse stabilize and your head clear. This method forces your mind to focus on the pattern, pulling you away from whatever overwhelming situation triggered your panic. Beyond box breathing, diaphragmatic breathing is another lifesaver. Most of us breathe shallowly, using only the upper part of our lungs. This reduces oxygen intake and leaves your body underpowered when it needs energy the most. Diaphragmatic breathing involves engaging your diaphragm fully so your lungs can pull in maximum air. To practice, lie on your back and place one hand on your chest and the other on your stomach. Breathe deeply. If the hand on your stomach moves more than the one on your chest, you're doing it right. With repetition, it will become second nature. Mastering breathing is not just about moments of panic. It's a skill you need to hone daily. Practice these techniques during calm moments so they're hardwired for emergencies. Better breathing also improves your respiratory health over time, boosting your endurance and helping you conserve energy when survival becomes a marathon instead of a sprint. Calming your mind is the second piece of the puzzle. Panic clouds judgment and leads to impulsive actions. When you're faced with a critical decision, take a step back, breathe deeply, and assess the situation. Is it a life-threatening emergency requiring immediate action, or is it something that can wait? Clear thinking comes with practice. Even in high-stress scenarios, mental clarity is the edge you need to escape harm. The bottom line? Make breathing a tool, not a weakness. A calm body leads to a sharp mind, and a sharp mind keeps you alive when the world wants you dead. 2. Security and sanity. Once you've handled the immediate threats to oxygen and water, your next task is to secure yourself and your environment. You're not just fighting the elements, you're fighting time and fatigue. The potential for danger increases the longer you remain vulnerable. That's why establishing security within 7 hours is non-negotiable. First, find or create a safe zone. A physical space with barriers to keep threats out is your priority. Whether it's locking the doors, building a wall, or fortifying your position with natural resources, it has to be done fast. But there's no point in a secure space if you're too tired to defend it. Rotate responsibilities. Share watch shifts with others if you're in a group. Solo? Set alarms or create noise traps to wake you if something approaches. Security at the cost of sleep is a trade-off that leads to bad choices, slow reactions, and ultimately failure. Mental security matters too. The 7-hour rule isn't just about physical safety. It's about shaking the fight or flight mode and creating a manageable sense of order. Chaos feeds stress, and stress breaks your willpower. A structured environment that includes routines and predictable tasks gives you a sense of control, even if the control is minimal. Over the longer stretch of 7 days, sanity becomes your battlefield. Without it, even the best survival gear won't save you. Humans need more than just shelter and food to endure. We need a framework, rules, and purpose. Assign roles within a group. If you're alone, set tasks for yourself. This creates routine, which reduces decision fatigue. Knowing what to do next keeps your head on straight. The small things add up too. Keep your environment tidy. A messy space will stress you out because it screams disorder. Add comfort items if you can, but make sure they serve a purpose. A clean camp with functional tools is a sanctuary in the wild. Don't underestimate how much of a difference basic comfort can make during challenging days. For example, keeping your shoes clean and your sleeping area dry can improve morale more than you'd think. Group dynamics are critical in long-term survival. Pick leaders, divide responsibilities, and stick to your roles. Even minor squabbles can escalate into full-on implosions when people feel lost or powerless. Structure reduces conflict. Everyone knowing their job and having clear expectations makes the group more effective and less likely to fall apart under pressure. The priority here is straightforward. Keep danger out and keep your head together. There's often no second chance in survival, so securing your environment and mental health the first time around is the only way forward. Proactive survival strategies. Survival isn't a waiting game. If you're sitting around hoping things won't get worse, you're already on the road to failure. The survival rule of 3S and 7S outlines critical time thresholds for human survival, but focusing only on reacting when those limits approach is a losing strategy. You need to shift your mindset from reacting to planning ahead. Proactive survival strategies put you in control, extending your odds of staying alive by eliminating surprises and minimizing chaos. 1. Mindset and preparation. The first step in a survival situation isn't to grab a knife or light a fire, it's to fix how you think. Most people's survival instincts kick in too late. They wait until they're on the verge of dehydration to look for water, or until they're freezing to rush to build shelter. That's not survival, that's desperation. Instead, survival is about staying ahead of these critical thresholds. It all starts with the right mindset and preparation. Proactive survival means looking forward, not reacting to what's already gone wrong. Train yourself to anticipate needs before they become problems. For instance, don't start looking for water when you're already dehydrated. Aim to find and store water before you even hit the 3-day limit. If you think food will be an issue, set traps or scout resources before you're starving. Every decision you make while you're desperate is more likely to be the wrong one. Survival becomes a downward spiral if you're always playing catch-up. A survival checklist is your best friend in staying proactive. Instead of relying on your memory or instincts under stress, write down what needs to be done and prioritize it. Your checklist needs to focus on the essentials in order of urgency. Air, water, shelter, security, and food should all be accounted for. Breaking it down into actionable steps lets you stay sharp and avoid wasting energy on irrelevant tasks. A prepared mind is clear, whereas an unprepared one spins in circles looking for answers. Physical preparation also matters. Train your body to endure stress, heat, cold, and extended periods without comfort. Muscle memory matters when you're scrounging for resources or fortifying your position. Without training, your body won't perform when it matters. Practice essential survival skills like fire making, water filtration, and first aid, so you're not caught off guard when the time comes. Survival success is 90% preparation and 10% execution, but if you avoid thinking ahead, you'll spend 100% of your time trying to fix problems that could have been stopped before they started. 2. Layered preparations. Survival needs aren't all immediate. There's what you need right now, what you'll need in the near future, and what you'll need further down the road. A layered approach to preparation keeps you covered on every front, so you're not caught unprepared at any stage of survival. Your immediate needs are non-negotiable. This is where the core of the rule of 3S and 7S applies. Within the first few minutes, hours, or days, you must secure oxygen, have water, create shelter, and protect yourself. These are the basics, and failing here leaves no room for long-term planning. Always prioritize tasks by what will kill you the quickest. Short-term preparations come next. Once the immediate crisis is under control, expand your focus. Stock up on clean water, capture or preserve food, and reinforce your shelter to stand the test of time. This stage includes creating fire kits, tools, and makeshift gear. For groups, establish roles to make your efforts more efficient. Division of labor lets you cover more ground while saving energy. For long-term survival, you need resources and strategy. Short-term fixes won't cut it over weeks or months. Strategic planning comes into play here. Identify renewable food sources, such as fishing, hunting, or foraging cycles. Build long-term shelters instead of temporary hideouts. Stockpile essentials as much as you can, but also learn to adapt to your environment. Nature isn't static, and your strategies shouldn't be either. Don't slack off once your immediate needs are met. This kind of layered preparation acts like a buffer. When things take a turn for the worse, you'll already have systems in place, giving you time and space to respond. Practice is what makes layers effective. Drills help you test your plans before they're life or death. Stockpile intelligently by rotating supplies to keep them fresh. These layers don't happen by accident. They're the product of foresight and consistency. 3. Resetting the survival clock. The final piece of a proactive strategy is staying ahead of the survival timeline entirely. The rule of 3S and 7S is a countdown, but waiting until those limits creep up on you is a mistake. The goal is to reset the clock before it runs out, building time and stability into your survival situation. Staying ahead means you never reach the breaking point. Instead of waiting to run out of water, you collect and store it regularly.